The threat facing our continent was transformed when Putin invaded Ukraine. The global economy has become more uncertain, bringing insecurity at home as trading patterns become more unstable and borrowing costs rise for many major economies. And the OBR have today revised down our growth forecast for 2025, from 2% in the autumn to 1% today. My right honourable friend, the Defence Secretary, and I will establish a new Defence Growth Board to maximise the benefits from every pound of taxpayers' money that we spend. And we will put defence at the heart of our modern industrial strategy to drive innovation that can deliver huge benefits back into the British economy. Mr. Speaker, that is how we make our country a defence industrial superpower.
Did you see that? Did you?
Solidari-Tea people, it's the Brews at 10, here on my left eye. I'm your host Lefty, a very warm welcome to everybody. As warm as a hot tasty beverage, as always. Chris, great to see your punctuality in getting first spot in the chat there. Also wonderful to see you, of course, as always. Floor Snake, great to see you. How are you brewing tonight, people? Yeah, we've got somewhat of a double billing on tonight's stream, so we've got the usual Prime Minister's questions, PMQs. As it is a Wednesday, so starting off with that, but it also coincides with Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves' spring statement. And you'll note I'm announcing this with perhaps not the most enthusiasm in the world. It's not great. It's not great. Not just in terms of the substance of it, but also Reeves's attitude towards it, the phony optimism when the facts completely oppose her point of view. So yeah, a double billing tonight. Oh, and I do apologise, people. I did promise you an exclusive first-time look at something on yesterday's Brews at 10. However, sorry, that slipped my mind during the stream. It was going to be a brand new intro for Keith's Catchphrases, which is a game that we play along with PMQs. For anyone who's new to the channel. Yeah, so that's coming up. More quality brewing, quality viewing. And we've got a little segment of some of the spring statement at the start there. To answer your question, Chris. No, that's not Rodney Trotter watching the news. It's Rick from The Young Ones. Rick Mail. The late great Rick Mail, I should say. Yeah, very famous British sitcom, groundbreaking for alternative comedy, as it was known, when that was out in the 1980s. Great stuff, yeah. So, just to answer that curiosity, to satisfy your curiosity, I'm thinking about extending Keith's catchphrases into Rachel's spring statement. No, we're not that far into the year yet. The spring statement, that's definitely not a mini budget. Yeah, is it though? First of all, people, please make sure you hit thumbs up on the stream. Help get the channel out there. I need a bit of a boost at the moment. Thanks again to everybody yesterday who gifted memberships. I've updated the list, so I'll be playing the list of members in just a moment. You can also help the channel out by sharing us on your social media. My Left Eye's available on Blue Sky, Mastodon and Twitter at the moment, so check us out at My Left Eye UK. And super chats and super thanks are also open on the video. Yeah, and jump in the comments if you're watching back on a replay, or even if you're watching live. Just give us some feedback about the stream. Yeah, always do appreciate that, people. Here are the current members. The Mighty Brew Crew. Thanks to everybody on the list, thanks to those who've renewed. Some of you have been celebrating some great milestones recently in terms of months that you've been members for. Thanks again for that. If your membership's going to expire soon, please do consider renewing and supporting the channel in that way. Thanks for the gifted memberships once again. And I'll be keeping a running total of the members as we go through the stream. Technically got 2 scoreboards to manage tonight. I should be on. Let's get you good people up here on the screen. There you are. Okay. So yeah, that's the current total, 61. Thanks again for those gifted memberships. Gave us quite a boost on last night's live stream. Muchos apreciato, whatever. Very much appreciated. I do appreciate the tea-based puns in the chat as well. As always. One of them caught me off guard on yesterday's stream. Had me corpsing. It was actually pretty difficult to continue, to be honest. I'm definitely not thinking about it right now. So I'll be diving quickly into PMQs, if that's okay with you good people. Because we do have a bit of a chunk to get through. Right, let's kick off then with PMQs. So before we do that, yeah, I've got an exclusive first time viewing for you here. Bit of an intro I've put together. Okay, time for Keith's catchphrases on the Brews at 10 on my left eye.
We now come to Prime Minister's questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Deliver.
Black hole. Plan for change.
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 Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, so it's Keith's catchphrases. There's a few examples of recent contenders up on your screens now. Deliver, black hole, plan and change. The reigning champion is Deliver. So there's going to be a new contender this evening. Politics Clive, great to see you. Glad you enjoyed the little intro there. Might play it at the end of PMQs as well. Intro, outro, as it were. 2 for 1, or 50% of the effort from my perspective. Yes, just stop oil, of course. Got that in the bag as well, might be throwing that one around. Just turn the background music down a little bit. So, I'll explain the rules for anybody who's not familiar. It's very simple really. There are 2 contenders, 2 phrases pitted against one another in the House of Commons. So we're going to have the reigning champion Deliver, who's represented by Postman Twat, who I'll be showing you in just a moment. Also, because it's a former contender coming back, I got quite a lot of mentions we noticed on last week's PMQs. We're going to be bringing back Black Hole. So Black Hole will get another 2 attempts. Every contender gets 2 attempts. In fact, these are the rules proper, people. Oh yes. Come prepared. Contending phrases must be spoken by Starmer himself. There was a time when the other phrases could be spoken by anybody, but very difficult to keep up with. So rule number 2, phrases are knocked out after 2 losses in a row. So they have to lose twice in a row to be knocked out. And it's not always easy to keep a streak either. So the 3rd rule, variations are allowed. For example, with delivering, changes planned, etc., etc. So it's pretty straightforward, really. Okay. Everybody down with that? Yeah, Heddy. Black Hole is back. Great to see you as well, Heddy. Hope you're brewing nicely tonight. So I should have PMQs lined up from the start. I do. Very good. Oh, there's a doctor in the house throwing up some Palestine flags. Nice to see you, Doc Davies. Okay, so Flow Snake, you're backing the Challenger. Okay. I think it might be a tough contest. Also as well, in the context that it is, the PMQ's coming up to the spring statement as well, so economy and budgets and whatnot. Yeah, gives Black Hole a good shout. As always, people, this is the first time I've seen PMQs, so my genuine reaction, I've no idea what the score may or may not be. Right, let's dive straight in there. And in fact, just because it got a shout out in the chat there, we'll go with the Just Stop Oil at the beginning. That's a very good one. It was a good friend of mine who goes by the name Rangson on social media. Do check him out. He's a fantastic demonstrator and protester. I've had the pleasure of being involved in protests with him. Just kill the background music and we'll go over to £7 million refurbishment shithouse Sir Lindsay Hoyle, who incidentally sounds like he's failing at eating a watermelon most of the time he tries to speak, given that his job title and indeed his role includes speaking. You'd like to think that they'd give it someone who enunciates a bit better than sounding like they're chewing on a flannel. Strap yourselves in, people. I'll bring up the scoreboard as well, just very quickly before we get started, before I forget. So you'll see that on the left-hand side of the screen, hopefully. In just a sec. Oh, I forgot to mention, you will hear this noise when one of the phrases is mentioned. So we've got Black Hole, the Challenger, and Postman Swat for Deliver, the current champions. Just get the little logos up. Should be these two. Yeah, there we go. Well prepared. We're well prepared. So it's 0-0. Let's reset the scoreboard. Come on, Lindsay, what have you got?
Okay, so we'll move on to Prime Minister's questions. John Slinger.
Question number one, please, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's spring statement will showcase a government going further and faster on the economy, green-lighting the Lower Thames crossing, investing £2 million for 18,000 affordable homes for working families, 60,000 young people being trained.
Just adjusting the quality Slightly
next generation of construction workers and fixing millions of potholes. We're undoing a decade of stagnation, delivering jobs and opportunities for working people and securing Britain's future. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow I'll meet President Macron in Paris to discuss further our efforts to secure a lasting peace in Ukraine. And may I welcome the delegation from Bring Back Kids initiative to the gallery. The abduction of Ukrainian children is grotesque. And the UK will play our full part to bring them home. It's a stark reminder that any peace settlement must see Russia held accountable for their deplorable actions. Mr. Speaker, this morning I have meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
John Slinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under this Labour government, NHS waiting lists are down 5 months in a row. Yeah. And the Hospital of St Cross in my constituency.
Well, they've cooked the books, really. Been over that before.
And many of my constituents remain concerned about the long waits in A&E that they're experiencing, that we inherited.
They did it again.
Especially those.
I'm just going to pause, but I'm not going to pause too much this week. Like I said, a lot to get through. I pointed out last week. As soon as the word NHS, they do that side shot to West Street and he's automatically nodding. You know, a lot of them have the button on the back of their heads jammed into nod mode. The Labour bots. They did it again. See, my left eye sees things others miss.
In Coventry. So will the Prime Minister set out how our plan for change to bring the NHS back into the heart of government will help us to support the front line, deliver better emergency care, closer to the community that our constituents have long called.
Just a reminder, it's got to be Starmer in. Says the phrases.
Mr. Speaker, our plan for change already cut NHS waiting list by almost 200,000. That's 5 months in a row during the winter months. The local trust waiting lists in his area are down 93%, and he's doing a great job for his community. We've already delivered 2 million extra appointments that we promised because of the record investment in the budget. The party opposite can't have it both ways. If they welcome NHS investment, they can't criticise raising the money to pay for it.
Leader of the opposition, Kemi Beardall.
Mr. Speaker, in 30 minutes, we will hear the Chancellor's emergency budget. Even the Home Secretary's husband calls it an emergency budget. As she scrambles to fix the mess she made last October. But first, let's turn to another government minister who is making a mess of her brief, the Education Secretary. Why did Labour MPs vote against banning phones in schools last week?
Prime Minister.
Because it's completely unnecessary. I've got teenage children. Almost every school bans phones in school. They do it already. We need to concentrate on what's really important here, which is getting to the content that children shouldn't be accessing. That's where I would genuinely like to work across the House, because I think there's a huge amount of work to do. But the battle is not with schools.
I think studies have showed that schools that don't allow phones, it doesn't affect their exam results and coursework results.
Mr. Speaker, we can look at the content, but if the ban is unnecessary, then why is it that they've started a review? Just last week, his Education Secretary called a ban a bit gimmick, yet teachers and head teachers say the evidence already shows that schools that ban phones get better results. And he's wrong. Not all schools do this. Only 1 in 10 schools are smartphone free. So will he U-turn on this?
We need to ensure that all schools do this, but the vast majority do.
I can sense the back and forth of the week already, people.
It is really important that we focus on.
She's going to ask him the same question about 7 times in a row.
Which is the content that children are able to access. and we need to ensure that that is controlled wherever they are. So it's a question of having the right battle on the right issue, not wasting time on something where almost all schools are already banning mobile phones.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised that the Prime Minister would say this. His own government evidence says that phones disrupt nearly half of GCSE classes every single day. Discipline is the #1 issue in many schools. Under the Conservatives, schools became twice as likely to be good or outstanding after going through our behaviour programme. So why did the Education Secretary abolish that programme?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she talks about the record of the last government. Under their watch, a third of children started school without appropriate level development, and that is not being able to use a knife and fork. A quarter left primary school without the required standard of reading, writing and maths, and 1 in 5 was regularly absent. That's why we're pushing up standards, more information from Ofsted, transparency.
Well, arguing over mobile phones isn't going to be the solution, Keith. Alwyn Hornsey, thank you very much for joining the membership list. I'll update the score at the top as well. Thanks again. Great to see you. Oh, no, 62 even.
The Education Secretary promised to compensate schools in full for the
And thanks for throwing up the Keith emojis as well.
Mr. Speaker, it was
Here he
Labour
is.
introduced academies. We pushed up standards. And this is not ideological. I'm a parent of 2 teenage children, both of whom go to a state school. So I'm vested in this, and it matters hugely to me. Nothing ideological about it. That is why we're driving up standards, as we always have done.
Just a moment, Keith. Not every kid who goes to a state school has parents who are millionaires on 6-figure incomes and who receive thousands of pounds in gifts, football tickets, rugby tickets, other sporting events. Yeah, that's you're not in it with them in the same sense that if your kids don't do too well in school, they've always got that to fall back on. We're talking about the ordinary working families as you describe them, Keith. Don't try and associate with ordinary citizens. Excuse me, just taking a quick sip of brew while I'm talking now. Let's get back onto it.
Mr. Speaker, he didn't answer the question.
This is PMQ's, Kemi. Haven't you got used to it? They never answer the question.
That is costing schools a lot of money. The CEO of the United Learning Group says the grant that they gave is 20% short. Some schools will face shortfalls of up to 35%. Can he guarantee that no teacher will lose their job as a result of his jobs tax?
Mr. Speaker, it was this government at the budget that put a record amount into our schools, just as we put a record amount into our NHS and into our public services. We were utterly failed under the last government. But yet again, she wants all the benefits, the NHS, but she can't say how she's going to pay for it. That's what got us into the mess in the first place.
Oh, I thought he was going to go for Blackhole then.
Speaker, the whole House will have heard that he could not guarantee that teachers' jobs are safe. Not only is he taxing schools, he's also lowering standards. He talks about our record. I'll tell him what our record was. Under the Conservatives, English schools shot up the international league tables, while schools in Labour-run Wales, standards fell. Academy freedoms led to the biggest improvement of standards in a generation. But the Education Secretary is attacking them with her reforms. Can the Prime Minister point to any evidence at all, that these discredited academy reforms will improve school standards?
Prime Minister.
Yes, take the example of schools going into academies. The vast majority of schools are already academies. Therefore, we need to think again about what we do about failing schools that are already academies. We need to go on to the next chapter. And they never take the big decisions, and that's why we ended up there. Record open borders, which she was the cheerleader for, a crashed economy, mortgages through the roof, the NHS on its knees, hollowed out armed forces, and what have we got already under this government? 2 million extra NHS appointments, 750 breakfast clubs, including one in her constituency, record numbers of people being returned who shouldn't be here, and fully funded increase in defence spending. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
Sorry, I just noticed this week Angela Rayner's got Postman Twat for a face.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently visited Harlow College and saw the work they were doing training the bricklayers and electricians of the future. Would the Prime Minister agree with me that work that FE colleges like Harlow College do is vital for the house building that we need for future generations? And what will his government do to support Harlow's next generation?
Prime Minister. He's a great champion for his constituents. We are investing £600 million to train up to 60,000 more skilled house builders so we can support the next generation and deliver 1.5 million new homes. We're creating technical excellence colleges and investing in Stansted Airport, creating 5,000 jobs nearby, which will create more opportunities for young people in Harlow.
Leader of Liberal Democrats, Red David.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The British drama Adolescence has shone a much-needed spotlight on the enormous damage being done by social media to the minds of many of our young
skydiving while on fire, Lib Dem leader Ed Davey.
Social media giants should be much more toughly regulated and pay more tax so we can defend our young people from this harm. But we've had disturbing reports that the government is considering scrapping the digital services tax and watering down Britain's online safety legislation to appease President Trump and his co-president, Elon Musk. So will the Prime Minister today categorically rule out both of these things and make it clear that he will guarantee that British laws on tax and social media will be written in this House and not the White House?
Well, yes, of course, as he well knows. On the point he makes about online safety, it is important. There are new measures coming in the next few months which are very important under the Act, and we need to see whether we can go further on this issue, because there are concerns as to whether they go far enough. But will the laws be made in this place? Of course they will.
Oh, there's Lisa Nomdi. Thought she'd
the Prime Minister's reply on the
fallen
social
off the
media
face of the
laws,
planet.
Answer the
We were saying the other day.
Services tax, and we will come back to that. But moving on, Mr. Speaker, after President Trump's national security advisor accidentally added a journalist to a group chat that was discussing military action in Yemen, and given, I think, all the concerns that we share about President Trump's relationship with Vladimir Putin and J.D. Vance's insulting disdain for Britain and our armed forces, will the Prime Minister make it clear that he will order an urgent review into the security of the intelligence that we share with the United States?
Mr. Speaker, we work with the United States on a daily...
So what he's asking long-windedly is how far up Donald Trump's arse is your nose.
I would like to think of himself as sort of reasonable, and when he's not jumping in Windermere, quite serious. But unpicking our relations with the US on defence and security is neither responsible nor serious.
So, judges.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Medina from Lyminge in my constituency is registered blind.
Excuse me, people, I just have to eat this biscuit, so I'm just going to let it play for a moment.
By the Conservatives. She faced great difficulties in getting support from access to work, which is essential across my Ashford constituency, and was not helped to find paid employment. It is so important that disabled people who want to work are supported to do so. What is the Prime Minister's message to Medina and others like her who have been abandoned and shut out of employment for far too long?
Every person should have the right to work, and we will always protect the most severely disabled and those with lifelong health conditions. For Medina and the 200,000 others like her who can work and want to work, we need to support them. And that's why we're investing £1 billion in personalised tailoring employment programmes and introducing the right...
Sorry to pause again, people. Just let me know how the sound levels are. The audio from the PMQ sessions is a bit low in my headphones. Just let me know how it's sounding for you. I could have a bit of a tinker if you think it's a bit too quiet.
right to try work guarantee. The party opposite presided over a failed system that didn't help them and then blamed them. We will never do that.
Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, those who know me well know that I don't talk of this often, but for half of my adult life, I was physically disabled. Indeed, when I first walked through the doors of this here chamber, I did so with a crutch in my right arm to support my body weight. I know how it feels. Right now in Scotland, some 55% of children living in poverty have a member of their household who is a disabled person. So can the Prime Minister explain to me, actually no, can the Prime Minister explain to those children how the Labour Party making mum and dad poorer will lift them out of poverty?
Well, I'm grateful to him for sharing his personal experience on this and his right to do so. My family has had living with disability for many years as well, so I do understand the human element of this. We do need to give support to those that need it. We do need to help those who want to work into work, and we need to be clear that those who can work should work. In England, we
Undergup's fantastic to see you. How you brewing?
In Scotland, 84,000 young Scots, he focuses on young people, that's 15% of young Scots, not in employment, education or training. That is terrible. Almost 300,000 Scots economically inactive due to temporary or long-term illness. Now, what we're doing is taking the steps to help people into work, £1 billion of employment support. They have record funding under the government, under the budget. What are they going to do to help the young Scots who have been failed by their government?
Andrew Ranger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Wrexham and Flintshire Investment Zone is one of the flagship examples of how when this government talks about kick-starting economic growth, it means it. This £160 million plan will breathe new life into the local economy, create 6,000 good local jobs, meaning that for young people in Wrexham, they will be able to find more opportunities on their doorstep. Will the Prime Minister join with me in welcoming this important development for North Wales and the potential it unlocks?
Yeah.
Well, it is really important that we unleash the economic potential of North Wales, including kick-starting the investment zone, backed by major businesses, Mr. Speaker, like Airbus and JCB, to leverage £1 billion of private investment, investing £975 million to benefit aerospace.
Clive, I am going to grant your request, just very briefly, because I'm very tempted and curious myself. I can do that. I can put black hole over Reeves' face just for a moment. There we go. Just while he answers this question. That's much better.
Aerospace workers at Broughton, where I met the fantastic young workers there, and securing £1 billion investment in Shotton Mill, securing 300 jobs on D-side. And we put a record amount of money into the Welsh Government at the budget, a budget decision which was opposed by Plaid.
Sir Julian Lewis.
Question number 3.
Okay. I'll have to move it back now. That's good enough for jazz. Okay. I'm being a perfectionist there. Let's carry on.
Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
The Right Honourable Member asks about shale gas. There are very real economic and environmental consequences to fracking.
Crickets at the ready, people. Never mind shale gas. What about shill gas, which is coming out of Starmer's mouth as we speak?
Communities have clearly said no.
Sir Julian.
Communities.
That answer had nothing to do with my question, which was to ask why the government are ordering the permanent sealing of Britain's only 2 shale gas wells. The government is perfectly entitled on environmental grounds to not exploit such wells in normal conditions. But does he not recognise that in a desperate situation such as an international conflict where other sources of power were cut
Oh, don't come that Russia stuff over energy. 4% was what we got from Russia. It's absolute bollocks. And no, of course it's a bad idea. Sorry, I'm not familiar with whoever that duffer was.
And lower bills and the next generation of jobs is move at speed to renewable energy.
Well said, Afterglow. Thanks for joining the stream as well. Gets up.
Can't put his boot on our throat. Now, if the party opposite don't want to support that investment, they should say so.
Kim Leadbeater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Prime Minister join me in thanking colleagues from across the House and the excellent clerks and staff who have spent the last few months working on the Assisted Dying Bill Committee?
I was just going to say, this is the Kim Leadbeater who's been in the news quite a bit lately over the Assisted Dying Bill. The late Jo Cox's sister from Baton Spen.
On this bill and taking part in the debate. It is an important issue on which there are different views across the House and within parties. The bill is a matter for the House, but it is the government's role to ensure every piece of legislation that passes through Parliament is effective and workable. So we'll continue to work with my honourable friend as the bill sponsor to do that. In the same way, Mr. Speaker, we would for every private member's bill which passes second reading, and if Parliament chooses to pass this bill, the government will implement it in a way that is safe and practicable.
Bradley Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Acorns Children's Hospice provides compassionate care to very young cancer patients and their families across Bromsgrove and the villages, yet it faces a staggering £416,000 increase in national insurance contributions as a result of choices made by this government. With no exemption for hospices and no uplift in non-capital funding, this means that the charity will have to draw from charitable donations made by...
Is this Ros Atkin's brother? You know, the guy from the BBC who does some of the Verify videos and he's on Radio 4 as well. Sorry, I'm just finishing off a biscuit. But yeah, uncanny. Floor Snake, that's a very interesting take on your preference to which kind of... It's there for you all to read anyway. That's an interesting way of losing your finger. Let's carry on, people.
...the public, and this will affect frontline services. This is not right. Will the Prime Minister take this opportunity to right this wrong and exempt hospices from this tax?
We are investing £100 million for adult and children's hospices to improve facilities, equipment and accommodation, as well as £26 million in funding.
Can't believe Black Coal's not got off the ground yet. Come on.
But their cries and moaning would have a lot more value if they started their questions with an apology.
They're giving you all the ammo you need.
Jacob Collier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Roads in Burton, Uttoxeter and across Staffordshire are littered with potholes. Local people are forking out thousands because of the Conservatives' neglect and incompetence. And that's
yeah, Floor Snake, you're really getting around the system.
Staffordshire County Council,
yeah.
£39 million to get the job done. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that the people of Staffordshire deserve better than roads with more dimples than a Staffordshire oat cake?
Prime Minister.
Look, he's right. Potholes are a real nuisance. And if you're using your car for work or your van and you hit a pothole, you're looking at a bill of several hundred pounds, which is unbudgeted for so many working families. That's why we're handing the West Midlands Combined Authority an additional £8.6 million to help repair their roads, part of a record £1.6 billion invested across the country. On top of that, Mr Speaker, every council must now publish how many potholes they've filled so we can show that we're making progress and that we're delivering something that didn't happen under the last government.
John Cooper.
3-0.
Mr Speaker, thank you. When he was Director of Public Prosecutions, the right honourable gentleman would not, I think, have sat comfortably in the cabinet of Prime Minister Cameron. But incredibly, in Scotland, we have a situation where the head of prosecutions there, the Lord Advocate, does sit in cabinet. This has been thrown into sharp focus lately with a police probe into the finances of
Let's try and keep it relatively clean, people.
Being thrown into sharp focus because ultimately, although not personally involved,
this is serious politics.
Does ultimately sit at the head of the investigation into the former First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. She faced potential criminal charges. This situation has been created by the SNP. They will not fix it. Does it sit with this House to amend this situation?
Prime Minister.
Well, I'm grateful. This is a really important issue, and Labour in Scotland have been clear that they'd separate this role. That's the right thing to do for the reasons that have just been articulated. It's the obvious thing to do, and that's obviously what we do in England and Wales.
I totally missed the question there, people. I've got to be honest. I've been, just been chat scrolling. I was listening out for the phrases. Just can't remember what the question was. Apologies.
The problem's been sitting there for a very, very long time.
Just keep going through, though.
Mr. Speaker, can I join the Prime Minister in welcoming the delegation from Bring Back Kids, who are trying to return the tens of thousands of children abducted by Vladimir Putin, an act of pure evil? The Prime Minister will be aware that they've been working with the Yale University Humanitarian Lab, who were tracking thousands of those children inside Russia until recently. I say until recently because they've had their long-term funding removed. Will we consider using our existing contributions to the Partnership Fund for a Resilient Ukraine to restore that important work that they're doing, and in doing so restore the hope that those children can be returned to their anguished families?
Well, I'm grateful to him for emphasising this again. Russia's abduction of Ukrainian children is sickening, and I think across the House we would all agree on that. A peace settlement in Ukraine must see Russia held to account and the children reunited with their families. And
the current status, just painting a very broad picture here, of course. Putin has apparently agreed to a ceasefire deal, but with a very large amount of caveats, which a lot of people, which has caused a lot of controversy, shall we say. Some people are willing to give him certain caveats, others aren't. Bit of a quagmire at the moment as negotiations go, but these cases, as with any, yeah, they're horrifying to hear about. That's for certain.
Specific reference to his question, the UK is playing our full part in international efforts, including funding the Bring Kids Back initiative through the Partnership Fund for a Resilient Ukraine. And I want to reassure the whole House we'll do everything we can to see these children returned and reintegrated as safely and as quickly as is possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The 7-year-old adoptive daughter of my constituent Sarah suffered immense trauma in her early years. Thanks to support from the Adoption and Special Guardianship Support Fund, she's been able to access much-needed therapy that's helped her progress. But she and thousands of others don't know if they'll be able to get more help, because in just 5 days, that fund ends and ministers have repeatedly refused to confirm whether it will continue. So can the Prime Minister give a cast-iron guarantee to vulnerable children?
Welcome to Raiders, all Raiders from Helena at No Justice. Thanks for the raid. You're all very welcome. Yeah, this is My Left Eye. For anyone who's not seen the channel before, channel all about politics and society from a left-wing point of view. So we're just going over PMQs in the spring statement today, just soaring through both. We keep count of a couple of phrases you can see at the side. Black hole and deliver, who's currently 3-0 up. So let's progress. Solidari-Tea.
Children, adoptive parents and kinship carers, that he won't cut this fund, and so that, in Sarah's words, she can give her daughter the absolute best second chance in life she deserves.
Well, we will set out details just as soon as we can on the basis of the principles that I set out earlier. The scheme overall, in terms of welfare, is not defendable on terms, but it must be a scheme that supports those that need it, and the details will be set out.
Hope you're all doing well. What Ian, the scripts that they're reading from is the order paper, which has the questions which are known about before the session starts, of course. But they might as well be scripts. They're not very well written either.
Since then, many have become more fearful with a rise in Islamophobic attacks, including this month at a mosque in Aberdeen. So can my right honourable friend the Prime Minister confirm to the country what steps is the government taking to tackle such hate crime and promote community cohesion so that those seeking to divide our British society are not allowed to succeed?
Cohesion.
Well, I thank him for his question. He does great work to bring our communities together, especially in Slough. Look, any form of racial or religious-based hatred is abhorrent and has no place in society. We have set aside over £50 million to protect faith communities and freedom.
Yeah, great to see you all again. Thanks for jumping in the chat as well. All of the Raiders from No Justice, Solidari-Tea.
The Recovery Fund has been supporting communities affected by the disorder last summer. Again, the right thing to do, but it's a shame that we have to do it.
Yes, Black Hole is back, having had so many mentions last week. Thought it was worth bringing Black Hole back for another couple of tries.
The fact that since the closure of Manston Airport in Kent, South East lacks a major diversion facility. Now, one diversion facility would not, of course, have compensated for the closure of Heathrow, a major hub airport. But would the Prime Minister agree that with the reopening of Manston planned for October 2028, there will be a significant contribution to resilience of aviation in the South East?
Well, look, he's right to raise the concern about the situation in Heathrow. I think everybody is very concerned by what happened last week. There are clearly questions that need to be answered.
I got sick of hearing about this. You know, obviously there are implications for how easy it is to take out national infrastructure where national security is concerned, but God, they didn't harp on about it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my constituency of North Ayrshire and Arran, the SNP ferry fiasco is having a devastating social and economic impact on our Drossen and the Isle of Arran, as well as building a Calmac.
Oh, just very quickly as well, please, Raiders, make sure you've hit thumbs up on the stream, please. Help give us a boost, and check if you're subscribed to the channel. Obviously, I can see quite a few of you are because you're in the chat, which you can join just 60 seconds after hitting the button if you're not already subscribed. Thanks a lot for your support and thanks for watching.
Ferry that doesn't fit into the existing harbour. The Fraser of Allender Institute estimates that the disrupted ferries cost the Isle of Arran £170,000 of lost revenue per day. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that the SNP government needs to find a rapid solution to swiftly address this serious situation?
I thank her for fighting SNP incompetence on behalf of her constituents. Yet again, the SNP are failing island communities. hospital appointments are being missed and livelihoods destroyed. And Scotland has a proud history.
I'll tell Keith a little bit about Scotland. Scotland are going to absolutely reject him at the next election. He knows that, and that's why he never misses any opportunity to try and take a swipe, a very cheap shot, any cheap shot at the SNP, as he's doing now. That is going to happen. I'm very confident of that, even in the somewhat early days of Starmer's tenure. But mark my words, there's going to be an absolute rout from the SNP in Scotland. They lent the vote to Labour, and now they've, they ignored the warnings that I gave, as well as other channels alike, and here we are now.
Of shipbuilding and engineering. The SNP should be supporting Scottish workers and focusing on delivering.
And that's a deliver. And thanks to Davinia as well for the gifted memberships. Solidari-Tea, Davinia, great stuff.
Energy from waste incinerator, which will burn 260,000 tonnes of waste a year, more than the whole of its use. And I'm concerned that as we reduce our levels of waste with the brilliant new plans to
so strong
to
last week as well,
more,
Blackpool.
we're going to end up
Well,
having
it wasn't
to feed
contending.
the monster. The area already has 95% of the capacity. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that we shouldn't allow new plants where we already have sufficient capacity, or where carbon capture is not going to be included?
I'll just update the membership total as well. Thanks again, Davinia.
Particular incinerator she speaks of, I don't know the details, I'm not across that, but I will make sure that she gets an answer to her question in written form as soon as possible.
Chris MacDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I commend my right honourable friend for his leadership on Ukraine, showing that the UK is once again at the forefront of protecting democratic freedoms. Does he agree with me that as our defence spending increases, we need to support our supply chain companies to increase their capability, creating good jobs and apprenticeships in places like Stockton North and across the country? And will he meet with me and our Teesside Defence and Innovation Cluster that I've established, which is helping to create that new defence capability for the UK?
Well, I'll be coming on to this particular subject in a bit when we go on to the spring statement. I've not seen all of the spring statement. I've seen some excerpts from it. One of them, which I included in that little, one of my Rick Mail bits at the beginning of the live stream, essentially mentioned by, this is Reeves I'm referring to, mentioned getting the UK very, very deep into the industrial military complex, and that's very alarming, because then essentially your whole economy is based on war. Peace is bad news for people who are tied to the industrial military complex, because there's no money in peace. But when you turn your entire economy, or most of it, as of course the United States of America have done and been doing so for decades now, then you're doomed, and that spreads all kinds of horrors across the world, as we've seen in those decades as well. So I'll go on to that later. We're coming towards the end of PMQs now, so
moment for
go
security
straight
of our
over.
country and our
Looks as though it's going to be a straight victory for Postman Swat.
Spending to 2.5% in 2027, the biggest sustained boost since the Cold War. But that must benefit British jobs and British businesses, and that's why I'll make sure that he gets the meeting that he wants with.
Just quickly, good point there, Odin, about carbon capture as well. That's a really poor. Well, it's not even a solution at all to the climate crisis. It's a fantasy. It's gambling the entire future of the planet on a technology that doesn't really exist yet. Yeah. Right, let's crack on to the end, and then we'll get on to the spring statement. Just buffering a bit here, people. There we go.
Jerome Mayor.
In October last year, the Chancellor delivered a massive tax, borrow and spend budget. Now her plans have collapsed around her ears with an emergency budget to cut that spending. So has the time now come, Mr. Speaker, for the Prime Minister to state in public that he has full confidence in the Chancellor.
I have full confidence in the Chancellor. Thank you.
Thank you
Hardy,
very much,
hardy,
Mr.
har, Keith.
Speaker. Albion Rovers has been a football institution in Coatbridge since 1882. However, following relegation and the lack of financial support for teams leaving professional leagues, it now faces a deeply perilous situation, risking the very future of one of Scotland's oldest.
Talk about football in politics, eh?
Agree that clubs like Albion Rovers are integral to the fabric.
Why is
of
Lisa
our
Nandy
community.
nodding? She's
And will we join
the
me
MP for
in
Wigan.
encouraging all parties to be
Wigan Athletic.
solution-focused on this matter and encourage football authorities to strengthen our clubs in the lower leagues to help protect their future?
Well, he's a superb local champion, and regardless of which club any of us support, they share a love of the game, and they are at the heart of our...
Yeah, Davinia will be going straight into the spring statement after this. I'm just dashing
But I
through.
encourage all efforts to secure the future of the club.
Final question, Dr. Kieran Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're joined in Parliament today by Katie Brett, whose 16-year-old sister Sasha was raped and stabbed to death. Aisha Hussain, whose cousin Jan, was killed by a sex offender and stored her body in a freezer. Paula Hudgell, whose adopted son Tony lost his lower legs as a result of child cruelty, and Becky and Glenn Newens, whose daughter Violet Grace was killed by a hit-and-run driver who spent barely more time in prison than she was alive. Supporting them are Jeremy and Susan Everard, who received justice for the murder of their daughter, Sarah, but who know too many others do not. They've come together to say with one voice that it's time for us to start ensuring sentences truly deliver justice for victims and their families. Would the Prime Minister agree to meeting with them in future to hear their stories firsthand?
Well, can I thank him for raising this issue? The courage of these campaigners after simply appalling cases is astounding, and I find it humbling. I'm pleased the Minister for Victims will be meeting the group, I think, today, and I look forward to meeting them in the future, because we must prioritise victims and make sure sentences punish offenders and protect the public. So thank him for raising this really important set of cases.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. We'll let front bench change over.
Okay then, people. That was Prime Minister's questions and a 4-0 win for Postman Swats, with 4 mentions of deliver there. There's a just stop oil. Yeah, be getting onto the spring statement in just a moment. That was a pretty bog standard session there, really. I was expecting Blackhall to come up a bit more, but there you go. So yeah, we'll be back with another game of Keith's Catchphrases next week.
We now come to Prime Minister's questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Deliver.
Blackhall plan for change.
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 Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now then, on to the spring statement very quickly. Lots to get through. Just get this queued up. Take a moment. In the meantime, make sure you've hit the thumbs up button on the stream, people. If you joined us for the first time tonight from the raid, please check us out on social media as well. Available on Blue Sky, Mastodon and Twitter. Always Twitter, never X. Right, just getting the clip. Just be another second. thanks for hitting the thumbs up button, Matthew Taylor, and everybody else. Do appreciate that. I genuinely do. From the bottom of my socialist heart. Yeah, it's not as long as that. There was obviously sort of the Q&A after the statement. I won't go through all of that, just the actual statement itself, because I think it went on for a couple of hours, so just do the statement. Try not to interject too much, but like I said, I do want to mention this industrial military complex, which was almost sort of sneaked in there. You know, the mainstream media are paying attention to things like growth, blah blah blah. But I think there should be a lot more attention paid to the fact that we've got this massive mobilisation and could you even say the next generation arms race that's happening. Well, I certainly might. Okay, we're just about good to go, people. Thanks for sticking around. Bring the screen back up. It's just buffering a moment, bear with. Just going to refresh that. Quality streaming. Okay. Just have a quick scroll through the chat as well. Wilbur Watley, great to see you as well, and Ruth Guthrie, I can see. Now then, it appears to be in working order now. Just kill the background music. Subjecting myself to listening to Rachel Reeves speak at length. But there you have it. Just crank the volume up.
Right, we now come to the
and shall we do, people? I'm thinking about some sort of bonus round, or yeah, let's I'm going to do a Postman Twat bonus round here, so we'll just remove Black Hole for now and the score, just reset that to 0. So let's just have a one-off for Postman Twat, sort of solo show, because I'm pretty sure he's going to do quite well.
Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves.
And I've only seen a few excerpts.
Mr. Speaker, This Labour government was elected to bring change to our country, to provide security for working people and to deliver a decade of national renewal.
Straight in.
That work began in July.
Let's
and
just
I am
move that
proud
up a
of
bit
what
as
we
well.
have delivered in just
Bloody
9
hell.
months. Restoring stability to our public finances. Giving the Bank of
Give me a
England
chance to get the
the
picture up,
foundation
Rachel.
to cut interest rates 3 times since the general election. Rebuilding our public
Just move
services
that up there.
with record investment
it's a
in our
solo.
NHS, bringing waiting lists down for 5 months in a row. And increasing the national living wage to give 3 million people a pay rise from next week. Now our task is to secure Britain's future in a world that is changing before our eyes. The threat facing our continent was transformed when Putin invaded Ukraine. It has
Bollocks.
since
Load of
escalated
bollocks.
further, and the continue.
She's not even going to mention Trump, I'll bet.
At the same time, the global economy has become more uncertain, bringing insecurity at home as trading patterns become more uncertain.
So you got that's Darren Jones to the left as we look at it. He's the
Speaker, the job of a responsible government.
the what do you call it, to the Treasury, Chief Executive to the Treasury,
A government not stepping back,
and
but
of course
stepping
Keith.
up. A government on the side of working people, helping Britain to reach its potential.
All when she definitely is possessed.
To do just that. As one of the world's largest economies, an ally to trading partners across the globe,
Sorry
and a
about that.
hub for global innovation.
Just knock the mic.
These strengths and the progress that we have made so far mean that we can act quickly and decisively in a more uncertain world to secure Britain's future and to deliver prosperity for working people. Mr. Speaker, as I set out at the budget last year, I am today returning to the House to provide an update on our public
It's
finances.
failed to disappoint.
Supported by a new forecast from the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility. Ahead of a full spending review in June, I will then return to the House in the autumn to deliver a budget in line with our commitment to deliver just one major fiscal event a year. So let me now turn to the OBR's forecast.
5
And
already.
I want to thank Richard Hughes and his team for their dedicated work. The increased global uncertainty has had 2 consequences. First, on our public finances, and second, on our economy. I will take each in turn. In the autumn, I set out our new fiscal rules that would guide this government. These fiscal rules...
She's not you're not an economist, Rachel. You are not an economist. You run a call centre in a bank.
to bring stability to our economy and to ensure security for working people. Because the British people have seen what happens when a government borrows beyond their means.
I agree with that as well, Ruth. I do hope that Scotland get independence. I was hoping that they would last time around.
Resulted in
And that's not
higher
changed.
bills, in
Definitely
higher
not.
rents and higher mortgages. And Mr. Speaker, it was not the wealthy who suffered most when they crushed the economy. It was ordinary working people.
And yet, Afterglow, that's right. She looks like a Tory, talks like a Tory, acts like a Tory, creates policy like a Tory, writes budgets like a Tory, and makes spring statements just like a Tory.
There is nothing Labour about working
Vote
people
Labour,
paying the
get
price
Tory.
for economic irresponsibility.
Lino.
The British people put their trust in this Labour government because they knew that
The Tory government.
They knew that I would never take risks with the public finances. That we would never do anything to put household finances in danger. And we must earn that trust every single day.
Well, you're not doing very well. I'd like to refer you to the polling, which I brought up on yesterday's live stream.
Ensures that public spending is under control, balancing the current budget by 2029-30, so that day-to-day spending is met by tax receipts.
We're very deep into gaslighting territory here. Things are going further and further down the pan, down the shitter, if I'm being completely honest.
While
and they will tell you barefaced that things are getting better, but that's just bare lies.
Turning first to the stability rule. The OBR's forecast shows that before the steps that I will take in this statement, the current budget would have been in deficit by £4.1 billion in 2029-30, having been in surplus by £9.9 billion in the autumn, as the UK, alongside our international peers like France and Germany, has seen the cost of borrowing rise during this period of heightened uncertainty in global markets. As a result of the steps that I am taking today, I can confirm that I have restored in full our headroom against the stability rule, moving from a deficit of £36.1 billion in 2025-26 and £13.4 billion in 2026-27 to a surplus of £6.0 billion in 27-28, £7.1 billion in 2028-29 and a surplus of £9.9 billion in 2029-30. That compares to the headroom left by the previous government of just £6.5 billion. That means we are continuing to meet the stability rule 2 years early, building resilience to shocks in this, a more uncertain world. The OBR forecast...
It's like saying go through all this austerity and then in 10 years' time we might have made a fraction of 1% of growth.
In 26-27, before falling to 83.4% in 27-28.
And they still can't tell us what the magic number is for GDP, where everything becomes amazing. Everyone's got a home, a job, access to public services. No.
In the final year of the forecast, broadly unchanged from the autumn. After the last government doubled the national debt, after they doubled the national debt interest payments now stand at £105.2 billion this year. Mr. Speaker, that is more than we allocate.
I'm going to have another biscuit, people. I'll be right back. I'm just turning the mic off.
And the Ministry of Justice combined. That is the legacy of the party opposites. So the responsible choice is to reduce our levels of debt and borrowing in the years ahead, so that we can spend more on the priorities of working people, and that is exactly what this government will do. Mr. Speaker, I said that our fiscal rules were non-negotiable, and I meant it. I will always deliver economic stability, and I will always put working people first. I said it at the election, I said it at the budget, and I say it again today. Let me now set out the steps that the government has taken. At the budget, we protected working people by keeping our promise not to raise their rates of national insurance, income tax or VAT. At the same time, we began to rebuild our public services after the party opposite left a £22 billion black hole in our public finances. Ours were the right choices. The right choices for stability and the right choices
Floor Snake, Manchester. Yeah.
That we took on tax. As I promised in the autumn, this statement does not contain any further tax increases. But when working people are paying their taxes while still struggling with the cost of living, it cannot be right that others are still evading what they rightly owe in tax. In the budget, I delivered the most ambitious package of measures that we have ever seen to cut down on tax evasion, raising £6.5 billion per year by the end of the forecast. Today, I go further, continuing our investment in cutting-edge technology, investing in the HMRC's capacity...
Yeah, we're not doing Black Hole for the spring statement, it's just a postman swap bonus round.
...by 20%. These changes raise a further £1 billion.
He'd be a runaway winner anyway.
The total revenue raised from reducing tax evasion under this Labour government to £7.5 billion. These figures are verified by the Office for Budget Responsibility, and I want to thank my honourable friend, the Exchequer Secretary, for his continued work in this area.
Jean, or is it Jean? Do let me know on the pronunciation. Is it the French pronunciation? So there used to be an old kids TV show in the UK called Postman Pat, and he had, I'll just bring the picture up again. I've slightly modified it, obviously, quite crudely in a hurried fashion. I still need to smarten that up a bit, to be honest. Where's he gone? There he is. So yeah, he was accompanied by his cat called Jess, was it? And it was, yeah, a kid's stop animation kind of TV show about a friendly postman who works for Royal Mail when it was publicly owned as well. So I've just modified the title of that show, and yeah, Deliver and Postman obviously being the association, but in the picture as well, it does bear somewhat of a likeness to Starmer, you do have to admit. So that's the backstory behind Postman Swat. Let's carry on.
Mr. Speaker, last week my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, set out this government's plans to reform the welfare system. The Labour Party is the party of work. We believe that if you can work, you should work. But if you can't work, you should be properly supported. This government inherited a broken system. More than 1,000 people every day are qualifying for personal independence payments. 1 in 8 young people are not in employment, education or training. If we do nothing, we are writing...
There's going to be 750,000 people losing the benefits. I heard a case today about a guy with a brain injury as the result of a car accident that wasn't his fault, and he's going to be losing £900 a month, which is the vast majority of his income. And yeah, he risks being made homeless. He doesn't have assets or anything. That's just one example of over 700,000 people.
Behavioural effects and wider factors.
Callous,
this also
heartless,
final
tax the rich.
To the overall package, consistent with the Secretary of State's statement last week and the government's Pathways to Work Green Paper. The Universal Credit Standard Allowance will increase from £92 per week in 25-26 to £106 a week by 29-30, while the Universal Credit Health element will be cut for new claimants by around 50% and then frozen. On top of this, we are investing £1 billion to provide guaranteed, personalised employment support to help people back into work. And £400 million to support the Department for Work and Pensions and our job centres to deliver these changes effectively and fairly, taking total savings after that to the package to £3.4 billion. While spending on disability and sickness benefits will continue to rise, these plans mean that welfare spending as a share of GDP will fall between 2026 and the end of the forecast period. Very different to what we inherited from the party opposite.
She's just saying it so proudly. They're cutting everything, cuts across the board, and they say it with such confidence as though that's what people to hear, you know, like gloating. They gloat in here about austerity. But they'll deny it's austerity. But austerity and cuts obviously go hand in hand.
The foundations of our economy to deliver on the promise of change. That work has already begun. 2 million extra appointments in our NHS. Waiting lists down. New breakfast clubs opening across England. The largest settlements in real terms for Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland in the history of devolution. Asylum costs falling, promises made, promises kept, and every single one of them
made,
opposed
promises
by the party's opposites.
Promises made, promises kept, promises made, and promises kept. Have you read your own manifesto? Have you read Keir Starmer's leadership pledges? Have you read everything he said at endless reboots and relaunches and the first crucial steps and all of that bollocks. Oh my goodness, are you for real? She can't be for real.
At the budget, alongside providing an increase in funding for this year and next, I set the envelope for the spending review, which we will deliver in June, led by my right honourable friend, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, to set departmental budgets until 28-29 for day-to-day spending and until 2029-30 for capital spending. Today, I'm reflecting two steps that we have taken on our spending plans. First, because we are living in an uncertain world, as the Prime Minister has set out, we will increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP, reducing overseas aid to 0.3% of gross national income. This means we save £2.6 billion in day-to-day spending in 2029-30 to fund our more capital-intensive defence commitments.
There's no
Second,
money in peace
in recent months, we have begun
for
to
neoliberals.
fundamentally reform the British state, driving efficiency
This
and
is
productivity
warmongery.
across
This is
government,
21st century
to deliver
warmongery.
tangible savings and improve services across our country. Earlier this the Prime Minister set out plans to abolish the arm's-length body NHS England and ensure that that money goes directly to improving the service for patients. My right honourable friend, the Health Secretary, is driving forward vital reforms to increase NHS productivity, bearing down on costly agency spend to save money so that we can improve patient care.
Hey Andy, great to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well.
The Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster is taking forward work to significantly
Better late
reduce
than
the
never,
costs
as
of
always.
running
Yeah, of
government
course. You
by
can
15%,
always catch up. Great
worth
to see
£2
you.
billion by the end of the decade. This work shows that we can make our state leaner and more agile, delivering more resources to the front line, while ensuring that we control day-to-day spending to meet our fiscal rules. Today, I build on that work by bringing forward £3.25 billion of investment
Into
to
double
deliver the
figures now.
reforms that our public
I had a
services
feeling
need
you'd get
through
quite a few
new
mentions.
Transformation Fund. That is money brought forward now to bring down the costs of running government by the end of the forecast period, by making public services more efficient, more productive and more focused on the user. I can confirm today the first allocations from this fund, including funding for voluntary exit schemes to reduce the size of the civil service, pioneering AI tools to modernise the state, investment in technology for the Ministry of Justice to deliver probation services more effectively.
Hey Red F, yeah, good point. I totally back universal basic income. Yeah,
to give them the best possible
totally.
start in life and reduce cost pressures in the future. Our work to make government leaner, more productive and more efficient will help deliver a further £3.5 billion of day-to-day savings by 2029-30. Overall, day-to-day spending will be reduced by £6.1 billion in 2029-30, and it will now grow by an average of 1.2% a year above inflation, compared to 1.3% in the autumn. Mr. Speaker, I can confirm to the House that day-to-day spending will increase in real terms above inflation in every single year of the forecast. And in the spending review, apart from the reductions in overseas aid, day-to-day spending across government has been fully protected. I can also confirm our approach to capital investment. In the autumn budget, I announced £100 billion of additional capital spending to crowd in investment from the private sector, to fix our crumbling infrastructure, and to create jobs in every corner of our country. Today, I am not cutting capital spending, as the party opposite did time and time again, because that choked off growth and it left our school roofs literally crumbling. That was the wrong choice. It was the irresponsible choice. It was the Tory choice. Today, I am instead increasing capital spending by an average of £2 billion per year compared with the autumn, to drive growth in our economy and to deliver in full our vital commitments on defence. This government will ensure that every pound we spend will deliver for the British people by increasing productivity, driving growth in our economy and improving our frontline public services.
But yeah, you see more of our economy is going to be focused on military, on defence, as they call it.
To deliver economic stability,
defence is generally when you're the one being attacked. Well, there you go.
To meet their 2% inflation target. There have been 3 interest rate cuts since the general election, and today's data showed that inflation fell in February. Having peaked at 11% under the previous government, the OBR forecast that CPI inflation will average 3.2% this year before falling rapidly to 2.1% in 2026 and meeting the 2% target from 2027 onwards. Giving families and businesses the security that they need and providing our economy with the stable platform it needs to grow. Mr. Speaker, earlier this month, the OECD downgraded this year's growth forecast for every G7 economy, including the UK. And the OBR have today revised down our growth forecast for 2025, from 2% in the autumn to 1% today. I am not satisfied with these numbers, and that is why we, on this...
With one breath, she says she's dedicated to growth, committed to growth, and in the next breath, announcing that obviously the OBR are saying that it's only going to be half of what was expected. It's not really a great start.
Side of the House are serious about taking the action needed to grow our economy. Backing the builders, not the blockers, with a 3rd runway at Heathrow Airport and the Planning and Infrastructure Bill.
That's a shit idea, and it's no resolution for the economy, as well as obviously the impact of the climate and the CO2 output as well. She's talking out of a monotonal arse, people.
Improve living standards. That is a serious plan to renew our country. Mr. Speaker, a changing world presents challenges, but it also presents new opportunities for new jobs and new contracts in our world-class defence industrial centres, from Belfast to Deeside and from Plymouth to Rosyth. In February, the Prime Minister set out our government's commitment to increase spending on defence to 2.5% of GDP from April 2027, the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War, with an ambition to spend 3% of GDP on defence in the next Parliament. That was the right decision in a more insecure world, putting an extra £6.4 billion into defence spending by 2027. But we have to move quickly in this change.
And it just keeps... She describes something in the past. That was the right decision. Describe something in the past. That was the right decision. Hello, it's me, Rachel Reeves. The way Noreen Skinner does it is absolutely spot on, yeah. Hello.
World. And that starts with investment. So today I can confirm that I will provide an additional £2.2 billion for the Ministry of Defence in the next financial year.
You will, yourself. That's coming out of your own pocket. That's very generous, Rachel. Or is it taxpayers' money, public money? Because, don't forget, people, there's no such thing as government money. It's public money.
But increasing our economic security too. As defence spending rises, I want the whole country to feel its benefits. So I will now set out the immediate steps that we are taking to boost Britain's defence industry and to make the UK a defence industrial superpower. We will spend a minimum of 10% of the Ministry of Defence's equipment budget on new novel technologies, including drones and AI-enabled technology. Driving forward advanced manufacturing production in places like Glasgow, in Derby and in Newport. Creating demand for highly skilled engineers and scientists, and delivering new business opportunities for UK tech firms and startups. We will establish a protected budget of £400 million within the Ministry of Defence, a budget that will rise over time for UK defence innovation, with a clear mandate to bring innovative technology to the front line at speed. And we will reform our broken defence procurement system, making it quicker, more agile and more streamlined, and giving small businesses across the UK better access to Ministry of Defence contracts, something welcomed by the Federation of Small Businesses.
Yeah, money and currency are different things. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of all that. But you're making some good points in the chat. I can see. Ian, who the fuck is that guy? Which guy?
Supporting the creation of thousands of jobs there. We will regenerate Portsmouth Naval Base, securing its future, as called for by my honourable friend, the member for Portsmouth South. We will secure better homes for thousands of military families, the homes that they deserve denied to them by the previous governments. Homes for our military families in constituencies of my honourable friends for Plymouth Moorview, Plymouth Sutton and Devonport, York Outer and in Aldershot. That is the difference that this Labour government is making. Finally, Mr Speaker, we will provide £2 billion of increased capacity for UK export finance to provide loans for overseas buyers of UK defence goods and services, because I want to do more with our defence budget so we can buy and make and sell things here in Britain.
Things.
Giving further opportunities for our world-leading defence
missiles,
companies and
planes,
those who work in them to grow and create jobs here
materials
in Britain
of destruction.
as military spending rightly increases all across Europe. To oversee all of this vital work, my right honourable friend, the Defence Secretary, and I will establish a new Defence Growth Board to maximise the benefits from every pound of taxpayers' money that we spend. And we will put defence at the heart of our modern industrial strategy to drive innovation that can deliver huge benefits back into the British economy. Mr Speaker, that is how we make our country a defence industrial superpower. So the skills of the future.
So she said, at the heart of industry, at the heart of industry. Are we talking about total war? Is that what she's referring to? Total war, as in the entire industry of a country being focused on war as it became during, both of the world wars. And is that where we're heading towards? The heart of our industrial plan were exact words. Are you talking about the dude on the left? That's Darren Jones. He's Chief Secretary to the Treasury, which is why he's got the front row seats, and he's in frame with Keith. She's flanked by Keith and Chief Secretary to the Treasury. So that's why Darren Jones is, if that's who you're referring to in the chat. But that worries me, people. That announcement, it really does worry me.
The jobs of the future and the opportunities of the future can be found right here in the United Kingdom. Mr Speaker, as the previous government learned to their detriment, there are no shortcuts to economic growth. It will take long-term decisions. It will take hard yards.
Tax the rich. I don't know. Universal basic income, maybe. I don't know.
In the everyday economy. It is right that the Office for Budget Responsibility consider the evidence and look carefully at measures before recognising a growth impact in their forecast. But, Mr Speaker, I can announce to the House that the OBR have considered and have scored one of the central planks of our plan for growth. In my first week as Chancellor, I announced that we were pursuing the most ambitious set of planning reforms in decades to get Britain building again. And in December, we published changes to the National Planning Policy Framework, driven forward tirelessly by my right honourable friend, the Deputy Prime Minister. Reintroducing mandatory housing targets and bringing grey belts.
Angela Rayner. from Ashton-under-Lyne.
Today concluded that these reforms will permanently increase the level of real GDP by 0.2% in 29-30, an additional £6.8 billion for our economy, and by 0.4% of GDP within 10 years, an additional £15.1 billion in our British economy. Mr. Speaker.
Again, when, you know, we've got pretty much a £2 trillion economy at the moment. We're supposed to be the 6th richest country in the world, and you're gloating over having £15 billion to spend, and that's after years and years and years of your policies being enacted, in which thousands and thousands, probably into the millions, of people are going to be affected negatively. Certainly people who are on benefits, certainly people who are on PIP and other disability benefits. This is just another layer of austerity. And she can try and dress it up as much as she likes, but that's the bare bones of it, people.
That is the biggest positive growth impact that the OBR have ever reflected in their forecast for a policy with no fiscal cost. And taken together with our plans to increase capital spending that we set out in the budget last year, this government's policies will increase the level of real GDP by 0.6% in the next 10 years. Mr. Speaker, that is the difference that this Labour government is making. Policies to grow our economy. Promises by a Labour government, delivered by a Labour government, opposed by the parties opposite. Mr. Speaker, the planning system that we inherited was far too slow. The OBR have concluded that our reforms will lead to house building reaching a 40-year high. 305,000 homes a year by the end of the forecast period. And changes to the National Planning Policy Framework alone will help build over 1.3 million homes in the UK over the next 5 years, taking us within touching distance of delivering our manifesto promise to build 1.5 million homes in England in this Parliament. Homes promised by this Labour government, homes built by this Labour government, homes opposed by the parties opposite. The impact on our economy goes further still. I said at the election that we could not simply tax and spend our way to prosperity.
I sound like a Darts commentator. Okay. Vicky.
That the effect of our growth
16.
Policy, including our planning reforms, means an additional £3.4 billion to support our public finances and our public services by 2029-30.
Rachel Reeves, you have 4 years remaining.
Of growth. Promised by this Labour government, delivered by this Labour government, opposed by the parties opposite. Mr. Speaker, earlier this week, we provided an additional £2 billion of investment in social and affordable homes next year, delivering up to 18,000
well, there's
new
definitely
homes,
one there.
and allowing local areas to bid for new development across our country, including sites in Thanet, in Sunderland and in Swindon. More security for families across our country, promised by this Labour government, delivered by this Labour government and opposed by the parties opposite. And to build these new homes, we need people with the right skills. Earlier this week, my right honourable friend, the Education Secretary, announced more than £600 million to train up 60,000 more construction workers, including with 10 new technical excellence colleges across every region of our country, giving working people the chance to fulfil their potential. New opportunities for our young people, promised by this Labour government, delivered by this Labour government, opposed by the parties opposite. Mr. Speaker, all this is just the start.
She said that about 4 or 5 times now.
Passed its second reading on Monday. No thanks to the parties opposite. Once this bill
parties opposite, parties opposite.
It will help deliver the homes and infrastructure our country badly needs. And I say to the parties opposite, the British people will be watching.
Should have had parties opposite up as well.
Because if the parties opposite don't support these reforms, let us be clear about what that means. They are opposing economic growth.
Or is it going to get into the 20s before she's finished? That'd be something.
They are opposing good jobs across our country. We on this side are clear about whose side we are on. The parties opposite must decide too. This Labour government is taking the right decisions now to secure Britain's future.
Parties opposite
Today, I
again.
can confirm to the House that the OBR have upgraded their growth forecast next year and every single year thereafter. With GDP growth...
Very good point there. We've got a Ukrainian money tree. Yeah, let's throw as much as we can at war, but we've really got to tighten our belts when it comes to public investment.
In 2027, 1.7% in 2028 and 1.8% in 2029. Mr. Speaker, by the end of the forecast, our economy is larger compared to the OBR's forecast at the time of the budget. That is the difference that this Labour government is making.
Can he get just
But,
one
Mr.
more?
Speaker, this isn't just about lines on a graph. It's about improving people's lives. Working people are still feeling the pinch after a cost of living crisis caused by the party.
It's actually literally about lines on a graph when you're talking about GDP and growth and everything. Of course it is, that's all she's focused on. She doesn't care about ordinary people. Of course she doesn't.
The opposite that caused interest rates and inflation to go through the roof. So I am pleased that the OBR confirmed today that real household disposable income will now grow this year at almost twice the rate expected in the autumn. Compared to the forecast in the final budget delivered by the party opposite, and after taking into account inflation,
He's done it.
the OBR say today that people will be, on average, over £500 a year better off under this Labour government. That will mean more money in the pockets of working people, higher living standards promised by this Labour government, delivered by this Labour government, opposed by the parties opposite. Mr. Speaker, the world is changing. We can see that and we can feel it. A changing world demands a government that is on the side of working people, acting in their interest, acting in the national interest, not retreating from challenges, not stepping back, but a government with the courage to step up, to secure Britain's future, and to seize the opportunities that are out there before us. I am impatient for change. The British people are impatient for change after 14 years of failure. And we are beginning to see change happen. Our plan for change is working. Defence spending is rising. Waiting lists are falling. Wages are up.
Sorry, Miss Wells, just away from the keyboard for a second.
That is the difference that this
21.
Labour government is making. And today, Mr. Speaker, the OBR confirm that our plan to get Britain building will drive growth in our economy and put more money in people's pockets. There are no quick fixes, but we have taken the right choices, returning stability to our economy after years of mismanagement by the party opposite.
Wrong, and wrong again, Rachel.
Security for our country and security for working people. That is what drives this government. That is what drives me as Chancellor. That is what drives the choices that I have set out today, and I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride.
Mr. Speaker, at the last budget, the Right Honourable Lady said that
Sorry, I'm having a quick biscuit. So that was that. I'm not I'm not going to go into the questions now. Just the statement itself. Let me know what you think about that, people. I personally thought that was appalling. Absolutely appalling. From Rachel Reeves. Yeah, well, I tried to share my thoughts as much as I could as we went along. An astounding score of 21 for Postman Twat. Very ego-driven, yeah, quite right there, Odin. I will be giving this, as though, like I said, it's coming out of her own pocket. Whereas it's, look at what I'm doing with your money, with your taxes. All the wrong things, that's for sure. It's only going one way. That is up. That is towards the already super wealthy, so take a bow, Postman Twats. With a score of 21, he'll be back in contention on next week's PMQs here on the Brews at 10. I just want to say a quick thank you to the members again on the channel. Just going to remove the chat so I can do that. Thanks for all the gifted memberships tonight as well. I'll be updating that list, of course. Just a reminder, check if your membership expiry is coming up. Please do renew. I hope you're all enjoying your perks. More exclusive content to come, as I said yesterday. There's going to be at least one members only video per week for you to hopefully enjoy. Let me know what you prefer more or less of as well in the videos. More serious, more comedy, longer videos. I'll see what I can do, people. I always like to hear your feedback. But thanks once again to all the members. It's just 99p if you want to join that list, which is just a fraction of the price of a tasty hot beverage. And Andy Carter, thanks a lot for all of your support on the channel. Another gifted membership there. Off Mov. If you're listening or watching indeed, please do enjoy the perks. So you've got static emojis, first time viewings, exclusive stuff as well. Nice one, Andy. Solidari-Tea, brother. I happen to have just the clip to describe Rachel Reeves's spring statement there. It's an old favourite on the channel. I've not used it so much lately, but I think definitely following that it's worth bringing back before I bring things to a close. Shout out to the agitator, Agitate for Change, who came up with that wonderful little scene there. John Hurt still hasn't managed to escape. God. Will somebody help him? Right, I'll have a quick check on the off chance that anyone is still streaming live. I do follow a few channels in the States as well, so stick around, people, for a redirect. Just going can see who's around. A final reminder while I do that, please make sure you've hit thumbs up on the stream. Subscribe if you're watching for the first time and you've enjoyed tonight's live stream. It's been great to see everybody. I'm going to do another shout out. Thanks again to Helena at No Justice MTG. I know that a lot of regular viewers on My Left Eye follow No Justice as well, but if you don't, please do check them out. That's No Justice, that's MTG. Awesome socialist content. So no one's live at the moment, so it's not going to be a redirect. Okay, so all that remains is for me to wish you a good night, whatever you're doing after the stream. I hope I'll be seeing you again soon. Take care, everybody. Free Palestine and power to the people. Catch you later.